So the Blood of Orcs is about a elven ranger who is, jettisoned into adventure through tragedy, as most adventures are. Why would you leave home unless, it's just not good at home? And the tragedy is orcs burn down her entire village. So she vows to wipe them from the face of Kinthur.
Fitz Of Writing.
Hey there, Scribbles and Scratches. Welcome to the Fitz of Writing. I am your host this episode, R.M. Johnson. As always, I am burdened by the presence of my co-host, Sean Fitzgerald. If you guys like what we do on this channel, you like the guests we have, you want to support us, support them, please, like, comment, and subscribe on all of our platforms. Go to their stuff. Do the same for them. This week, our guests are brought by the behest of our most benevolent patron, Sir Dr. Duncan Cackleworth, Esquire. As always, they are a duo of dungeon masters, a pair for plot and peril, and lovers in life and lore. Scribbles and Scratches, let's introduce April Naya. Naya Raine and Trevor Jones. I apologize. I should have asked you guys that before we started recording. I just wanted to kind of get the details going. But I welcome you guys to the show. I'm glad to have you. Sean is too. He's just being quiet. How are you guys?
Doing fantastic. How are you?
Doing great. Trevor, you're being quiet like Sean. Do I got to pull you into this conversation?
No.
It's a bottom of the screen type of thing.
I'm really glad to be here. Thank you for having us. No, I'm the out of every couple I've ever met, there's always been one who has gregariousness over the other, and so I'm trying to keep an even keel today, keeping my foot out of my mouth as much as possible.
He
put
plays
your foot
it safe.
square in your mouth. That's the best part.
Well, I mean, you give it the best shot you can. We'll start with ladies first anyway, and then you know how to follow up. But if you guys want, either individually or if you want to start on it together, how does your story as authors begin? Give everybody kind of an idea of how your journey has gone so far.
So my writing journey, I was in college and I took a correspondence course called Children's Literature Institute. And I started writing with them while I was doing college courses. And I got published twice. I got published in Highlights Magazine and Ranger Rick Magazine for a article called How Seeds Travel. And so that was the first time I had been published, and that was in college. And then I, got busy with family and raising children and having a career and kind of put my writing to the side. And then I met Trevor 10 years ago. And when we were going through some of his things, I found a manuscript and I pulled it out. It was pretty thick. And I said, "What is this?" And he said, "This is a book I wrote." And I said, "Okay. I didn't know you were a published author." And he said, "Oh, I'm not." And I said, "Why not?" Excuse. So I'll let him finish telling the rest of the story.
Yes. Out of the duo, my beloved April has always been the driving force. And so she doesn't allow me to make excuses for anything. So for my birthday, she got me an editor. And within 6 months, my first book was published. And it became sort of a downhill from there. 9 months later, my second book hit the market. And the third book I was underway writing when she comes into the little cubicle she had told me to set aside for writing. And I had, like a madman, had all these posters of ideas and books and titles and how each series tied into the other series and where characters made cameos. And she looked at it and very plainly said, "You're going to die before you finish all this." I have planned out over 26 novels and vignettes. And she was like, "Well, Everything we've done in research shows that if we're going to, and we're indie published, by the way, so if we're going to be successful, we need as many on the market as possible, as fast as possible. And I'd already gotten her addicted to playing Dungeons and Dragons with me. So she just took her notes from the campaign we had played for the past 3 years and sat down and turned those notes into a rough draft and says, okay, let's make more books happen. So now we're writing concurrent series simultaneously. We're doing joint venture on some series and solo on others. So yeah, she dragged me kicking and screaming into publication. I got my start basically, and this is going to date me, learning to type from my mother's old stenographer notebook I had found in the library, and it was just a cardboard cutout of a keyboard. And I spent the whole summer learning to type on cardboard. And come Christmas, the age of 10, I got a plastic but fully functional typewriter for Christmas, and haven't looked back on writing since. But never once thought that I would be published, let alone anyone would care to read it, other than those that I subjected to my writing, my players and other fantasy people. But yeah, once I got published, now I can't shut up.
So you, not to be crass, you lured April in with the thickness of your manuscript, and that led you guys to want to start eventually writing together. Like, how long were you guys writing separate before you like decided, hey, we're gonna tackle something together?
Oh, like I said, that third before I got my third book out, she had sat down and started writing. So by the time before my third book in the trilogy, my first trilogy was ready, she had a rough draft done for a new series that we got. So she basically writes the rough draft on our collaboratives, and I'm doing quotes for collaborative because she writes the bulk of the book. So like, can you hold it up? The Blood of Orcs was the beginning of the Knights of Aragon series, which is based on actual gameplay. So this was a campaign that went on for 3 years. So she'd take her notes from the games and she writes the rough draft, and it was like 65,000 words or so.
65 to 70, somewhere in there.
65, and then I add another 10 or 12,000. That's mostly world lore and maybe some specifics behind the scenes kind of stuff that needs to be hammered out to stay accurate to the world that the stories all take place in. And all of our fantasy books take place in the fantasy world I created for our gameplay, which we still play into this day. Here in Costa Rica, I managed to wrangle enough English speakers together to still play Dungeons and Dragons. So a couple of local Costa Rican citizens and a few expats, and we still play, and we're still making new stories.
That's awesome. I love that D&D is still surviving in your, not only in your personal lives but in your relationship. I do. I want to take a quick moment. Can you show that cover art one more time? Yeah, I really do love that. Did you guys did you hire someone to do that, or did you find, how did you guys come about the cover art idea?
Well, we have a good friend that is a graphic artist, and that's his job every day. And so we send all our covers to him, our ideas of what we want, and then he makes up our covers and sends them back to us. His name's Mike Hyde, and he's fantastic. He goes by Magic Cheese.
Well, so you guys,
That's
can you
funny.
give us a quick elevator pitch on the Blood of Orcs?
So the Blood of Orcs is about a elven ranger who is, jettisoned into adventure through tragedy, as most adventures are. Why would you leave home unless, it's just not good at home? And the tragedy is orcs burned down her entire village. So she vows to wipe them from the face of Kinthur. And Kinthur's the world that we play in and we write in. And the series of books is basically her growing and moving forward through the world of Kinthur, and through prophecies and divine interventions and all of that. So it's a very fast-paced adventure. It's how I like to read adventures, to where, There's not a lot of feelings processing. It's
I don't know about
very
that.
moving forward and going from one adventure to the next. And that's really how I like to read my fantasy.
I don't know about that. Our narrator, we just recently got a new narrator for the audiobook for the third book in the series, Quest of a Goddess, and we got to have a great little sit down with her for one of our podcasts, and she was moved to tears. So don't say there's not feelings in there. There's feelings in there. But yeah,
the third book is a little more feels because Elwyn has matured by the third book and is thinking about her actions a little more and is, not as impulsive, I would say, as she was in the first book.
She's an action star for sure. She's if you took Legolas and Bruce Willis and John Wick and mixed them together with some elven magic.
Oh, so it's a Christmas story.
It's
right.
Yes. Thank you for paying attention.
Could not help myself. Okay, well, so what I'm getting so far is in the first story, a lot of the feelings are going to be shoved off onto the reader to feel, or the listener. I wanted to, you guys kind of verified, frog in my throat, that the Kinthur Chronicles is basically the series you're writing. Where does the Blood of Orcs fit in the overall series?
So there's 3 different series right now in the Kinthur Chronicles is the world, and there's 3 different series in the Kinthur Chronicles. They do interconnect to some extent, and there's a lot of Easter eggs in there, which is really exciting. And I would love for fans to start piecing those Easter eggs together because they were very carefully placed. So some of the characters that are in my series are in another series, and his series, Pentakawa, The Dark Gift, Penta shows up in this series. He doesn't show up, but we brush against him. So it's really nice to play with those timelines and to have the world be that interconnected. So
yeah, the series take place millennia apart, where the Blood of Orcs is closer to what we would call the world's present, whereas the flagship, the original series, the Pentakawa series, starting with The Dark Gift, is sort of like part of the history. It's not the beginning of the world history, but it's the beginning of one of the historic greatest figures, Pentakawa, one of the greatest, most well-known vampires in the fantasy world. And his links throughout history are things that are referenced in the other series.
I like that. I like a big interconnected universe that spans over large swaths of time, especially if you have an entire world that you've created for, like, just out of a fantastical idea. How many, for the readers who haven't read your stuff, but, are interested in fantasy and Dungeons and Dragons-esque stories, how many issues do you have out of the Kinthur Chronicles that are available to purchase now?
There's 7 full novels out, with an 8th one dropping in April, and we're targeting 2 more this year, so it'll be 10 by Christmas, and next year we'll probably be adding another 3 more. And this is in addition to, I think we have 9 short stories that are floating around on Amazon that do additional world building, if you're that kind of person who likes side quests that fill in the blanks on a world.
That's amazing.
I love that you wrote side quests for your world. I love that. That's
the way I see it is, every so often when you're reading a novel, there's a character that just sort of walks in, does something impressive, and then walks back out. And as impressive as it is, you're still focused on the main story. But when that's over, you kind of look back and go, remember that weirdo that walked in and did the juggling act and then left with 3 men's wives and my purse? Who the hell was that? And that's what becomes the short story side quests. I walked into a bar and then I did these things and I walked out, and that's when the monster tried to eat me and things happened.
Who was that masked bandit? Yeah.
The juggling bandit. I love it.
So before we get too far away from it, you guys did mention that you had a voiceover artist for your audiobook. You didn't mention a name. You guys want a name drop? We like to try to, get the community some recognition when they're helping us and stuff. So we can spread her name.
So my new narrator, her name's Carly Larson. She's out of Tennessee, and she has done the second book, which is Demons, Dragons, and Demigods, and then the third book, Quest of a Goddess. She is going to do the first book. I'm going to have it redone. The rights are coming back to me, and she's going to re-record it, and that will probably be done around May. So the whole series will be in her voice, and she does a fantastic job. And then Trevor just got a new narrator as well.
Yeah, the thing about books that come out so far apart is oftentimes your narrator's life moves on to other things. And that's kind of what happened to us. And so we both had to find new narrators. And my newest narrator is Nathan Nash, and he has picked up the baton, so to speak, or the microphone, and picked up with the third book. He's ready for the fourth. He loved the stories. And when we were shopping for new narrators, it was, again, it wasn't that we didn't like our first ones. Their life just got busy in other directions. But this time when we sought out new narrators, we got ones that were focused, that this was their career, this was their focus, and they wanted them to be as much of a success as we did. Because we're, as indie authors, we want basically indie narrators who themselves want to push the work, advertise, share on social media, etc. And both Carly and Nathan are in it to win it. So they're sharing, they're broadcasting, they're happy to do interviews with us, and they've been a great source of not just other fans, but of inspiration. And there's nothing makes an author feel better than having somebody come back going, like, I read that, and that scene got me. I had to put the book down. I had to tell my wife what was going on because she wasn't listening to the book, and it was a really important moment. And I had to explain to her half the damn book so that she understood why it was so important that thing happened to that guy. So
sounds a bit personal.
Right.
I'm the audiobook listener, not him. I don't know what he's talking about.
Oh,
anyway.
Yeah, that was the big kicker. You mentioned during our pre-up that you were ADHD, and I am too. And one of the things that affects me is that I can't do audiobooks. When I got my very first book made into audio, I tried listening to it and it put me to sleep. And I was like, I know this is a good book. I wrote it. It's got action. It's got things happening to it. So she has to do all our audio editing when it comes back from our narrator. She listens to it and says, yes, this part's good. Yes, this part's bad. And it's appreciative and people will like it this way. And I'm sitting here going, I can't process auditory. I have to have something to see. If audiobooks came with moving pictures, we could call that like a movie. Maybe we could have that streams with the giant, on screen, right?
Yeah.
Are you listening, James Cameron? So
Yeah, a little hint and a nudge. You nudges, elbows.
I've got one more question, and then we can move on to talking about the writing and everything. Give everybody something to sort of latch onto that hasn't read any of your books. Not an elevator pitch, but something that separates your book from other books that are out there similar to it, that would be a good grabber for the kind of reader you're wanting to advertise to.
I'll let you go, dear.
So polite. I'm not used to it.
My cover is quite dark because it's called The Dark Gift. There have been as many ways to describe a vampire story as there are people, right? But ever since Bram Stoker, all of them have been sexy beasts. Well, Pentakawa, my vampire, was 70 years old when he gets turned. He didn't want to be a vampire. It was a tragedy. He lost everything. He was in his golden years. He had been a good man his whole life, gave tithes to his church. He was a pillar of his community. He was ready to hang up his apron and call it a day when everything went south. And so he's the unwilling vampire. And that's a little bit of a mirror to what happened with Louis and Anne Rice's vampire. But the difference is Penta doesn't whine about it. He gets on with living in his death. And he's like, I have to find a new purpose. He tried to commit suicide. it wasn't in him because it wasn't in him when he was a living man. So it wasn't in him in undeath. So he had to find a new place and a new purpose. So, and I started writing the Pentakawa series when I was like 20 years old. So I had no reference on what it was like to be an elderly person, let alone someone who was facing down the Grim Reaper. So I had to connect to that. And over the years, it's meant more and more to me. And I'm in my 50s now, and I think this holds more value than most vampire stories because he was already old and he had to find new purpose in his unlife. So it's a different kind of vampire with different purpose. And he's seeking and pursuing what he can to still hold on to that. So it's humanity being held on to by, the skin of his teeth, the gripping fingernails to try and hold on to that. Because in D&D and in my perception of vampires are evil. There's no two ways about it. There's no such thing as a good vampire. But all he can do is try to be evil on his own terms. And I'm not going to give too much away about the story, but that is a human nature philosophy question that is embedded in the entire series. And it doesn't get too heady. It really doesn't. There's plenty of action. There's plenty of blood and gore and murder and bloodletting. And it's fantasy, horror, grimdark, all mixed together with a philosophical enigma at its core.
Well, that's exciting. I'm glad to hear that it's a different type of vampire story. I do think people tend to get into these, for lack of better terms, like stereotypes when it comes to, quote unquote, like classic monsters. And I'm really glad to see people like when they're trying something different. And that's what it sounds like you got going on. I'm excited to delve deeper into the Kinthur Chronicles. Sean,
Do you want to let
resist-
April say anything about her writing, or do you just want to just move right on, Ryan?
So mine is very classic fantasy D&D. I mean, probably one of the hardest things that we have to do is change the names of things so TSR doesn't sue us, and because we don't want to get in trouble like that. But yeah, and it's very, if you love those fantasy tropes and you love action adventure, my series is pretty much straight down the line for that. So, and it's in the world of Kinthur, which everybody always says there's that Kinthur twist. So there's always that little twist in there.
Twists are good. M. Night Shyamalan made an entire career out of basically one of them.
He sure did.
I let a little bit too much of my personal opinion show there. We're gonna go ahead and yeah, we better go on to we've gotten a couple of submissions for our seasonal contest, the Incredible contest, in regards to everything, but I wanted to throw in a quick reminder. We're all going to take a quick break and let Sir Dr. Duncan tell you about the rules for it, and hopefully you will consider submitting if you are a writer.
Greetings, Scribbles and Scratches. I am positively spellbound to announce my Incredible contest. A free writing competition designed to reward those daring few who are striving to stride the hard road to publication. Yes, free I say. No entry fees, no hidden curses, no genre restrictions. To enter, simply request a submission form and submit. And the winner, the glorious winner shall receive top-tier professional grade, line, proof, and copy editing from a best-selling editor, completely free. Up to 30,000 words or half the book, whichever comes first. A guaranteed interview and additional promotion from the Fitz of Writing upon publication. So, Scribbles and Scratches, request the form. Submit with confidence. This has been Sir Dr. Duncan Cackleworth, Esquire, reminding you that ink, when properly wielded, can create the most incredible of things. Strike the like, and semper scribe.
I just want to remind everyone that the Incredible Contest, you have to have at least 2 runs of editing before you can submit, and the winners will get proofline and copy editing from best-selling editor Kimberly Huther. It is 30,000 words or half the book, whichever comes first. So just keep that in mind. Keep the submission comes in. It's going all season long. Sean and I are checking these things out, and we're excited to announce at the end. You want to go ahead and open up to our general talk, Sean?
Oh yeah, I can fire it off. When I saw you guys' submission that you both lived in Costa Rica, I thought that was really interesting, but it made me wonder how that affects, or if it affects, how you write your settings. Do you think that it sort of holds any bearing or gives you any more of a realistic idea of the settings that you write in your books?
So, because we're writing in the world of Kinthur, Kinthur has its own ecosystem, for lack of a better word. It has its own structures and land masses and stuff like that. So I did think about this question because I've been asked about it before. And in the last book, I did go to we don't live near the beach. We live about an hour and a half from the beach just because it's cooler. But I did do a beach scene with palm trees, and I think that I was inspired by Costa Rica with that. So I can say that yes, more than likely Costa Rica inspired that particular scene. But in general, not really. The games inspire it more than probably our location.
Okay, that makes sense.
So, you guys, I am curious as to like how often do you guys write separate, and then how often do you guys kind of collab on a piece? And like, I assume you guys have vastly different writing styles, and like, how do you guys kind of balance that?
Trevor?
Yeah, so the Penta series is very much my baby. It's been with me since I was 19, 20 years old. So I write the rough draft, and like any author who is benefiting with having a sounding board living with them, if I write something I'm either having a problem with or something I'm really proud of, she's the first person who gets to hear it, even if it's in the middle of something and she doesn't have any reference to the background, so that I get feedback right away. But for the stuff that only has my name on it, I've written basically the whole thing, and then we go through it editing together. And so the contribution is more along the lines of, there's a giant plot hole here you left behind that needs to be fixed. Or didn't you kill that guy in chapter 14? You can't kill him again in chapter 28. He's dead already. You either bring him back or kill somebody else or write it out entirely. So I've done all three.
George R.R. Martin has killed Jon Snow several times.
Right. But he brought him back to kill him again, right? So, and then with the collab work that's based on the games, the Knights of Aragon, I wrote the game and then dungeon mastered for the game. She played 2 of the characters in the story and then wrote the book based on her character's perception. So, 90% of the rough draft is hers. And so I'm only contributing maybe 10% of the actual book. So all the books are actually technically collaborative in that we both have some input into it. It's just that, there's a reason the collabs have her name first. It's because she put the grunt work in of getting that rough draft out. And if you're a writer out there listening, we know how much sweat you put into those rough drafts. But you can't edit a blank page. So we're always sitting there encouraging each other and pushing each other to get something on the page so that we can polish this turd into something shiny.
And, because it was from a game, I don't know if you've all played D&D or not, I had player knowledge. I didn't have DM knowledge. So sometimes I would be like, hey, I need to put this in here. Why did that happen? And he'll give me that look, and I'll be like, come on, we're not playing this game anymore. You can tell me now.
Okay.
And so, yeah, sometimes I have to pull from him the DM knowledge because I didn't have that knowledge to be able to put it in a book. And writing a book from games is difficult because you have to, in games, you're doing a lot of side quests and things that aren't linear, and putting that into an overarching story and making it make sense to a reader was a little more challenging than I thought it was going to be. At first I was like, oh, this is easy. I've got all my game notes. No, it was not easy like that. So I definitely had to pick and choose and cut stuff out, but I couldn't cut so much out that the rest of it didn't make sense. So yeah, there was a lot to writing those stories from game notes. I would almost be your whole class, I think.
Yeah.
You'll find out on this new series you're writing.
Right. I'm writing a new series and it is whole cloth. So
I had actually had the idea to design a video game until I found out what it takes to design a video game, and then I decided to turn it into a book. And yeah, I agree. It kind of slims things up and kind of limits you on what kind of willy-nilly stuff your story can do just to pass time or get stronger or things like that, to just keep things more linear and streamlined. So I understand where you're coming from there, even having never played Dungeons and Dragons. You are the second of 2 author duos that we've talked to that has Dungeons and Dragons involved somehow, some way. But Ryan, they have a pretty different way of going about it than Mike and Diana did, don't you think?
Yeah, I mean, everyone has their own way. That's the wonder of D&D, Sean. As much
I'm not
as I
talking
keep
about the
trying to
D&D. I'm talking
this-
about the way they do the writing.
I'm
not going to play
well.
D&D. I'm too old and too crabby.
no, you're not.
I'm trying so hard to get him to do it.
You're never too old to play.
I
I'm
might be too
convinced
crabby.
if I can convince him that it's part, like, we can do it for the show, then he'll agree to it. We can have old guests on to be a part of it and all that stuff. And
I'm
then
going to
he
see it
has
coming
say
now.
yes. I don't care.
What am I
I
gonna
could
do?
bring you a game. I could bring you a game right now. Grab a quarter to flip, and I could bring you a game right now.
I feel pressured and uncomfortable. And
That's D&D. D&D at its core.
that's D&D.
One of us.
Oh,
Yeah, sorry. Yes, in regards to how they tackle writing, I think you guys do have a much different approach than our last duo that we talked to. Sean and I have been trying to talk ourselves into potentially writing something together, and we just haven't really. We don't know, because we're very different writers. Sean is a plotter. I am a pantser, or well, whatever. I like to pull my pants down. So, I like to just kind of fly by the seat of my pants. And we have very different styles in regards to writing, and so we don't know like how we were going to do that. But we are interested in talking to other people, and it does sound like you guys have a coexistence. I don't think Sean and I can mirror, but
yeah, we were told that we had to communicate constantly, and I can't do that with you.
This is almost too much for him.
It's going off the rails. Let's get back on track, Ryan. Bring her home.
So I do have a question for both of you. I want you guys to kind of answer these in your own time. But it's a two-parter. One, who of what you've written, who is your favorite character and why? And who's the one you hate the most? Or at least you think fans, like your readers, will hate the most?
Great question.
So my favorite character to write is Nissa. She is a Fey rogue, half Fey rogue, and getting into the mind of a Fey and feeling through that has been a lot of fun for me. She's very, flitty, but still very serious when she needs to be. She's edgy and dangerous, but still in that really fun way. So yeah, she's probably been my favorite character to write. And I hope the fans like her. I think that they do. I know my narrator likes her. Probably the character that I try to write all my characters to where people are going to like them. I do have villains in my story, and there is an overarching villain, but you don't see him much. You mostly see the effects of him, so the readers really haven't got to get a good sense of him, if that makes sense.
But you feel like when he does come onto the page, people are just going to be like, oh, this guy. Ugh.
Yeah, they're going to be, well, he's disarming. So he's like very charming and he looks harmless, but you know he's not. So,
I have a co-host like that.
And the fourth book will very much bring that all into a head. And yeah, I think that'll be, I think by the end of it, if I do a good job, they're gonna love to hate him. So yeah.
Trevor?
That's the perfect phrase for any villain. If you've written them right, everybody loves to hate them. Whether it's Cersei Lannister or Venger or whomever, the mustache twirling bad guy stereotype is just too shallow. You want a very complex villain. Because my writing and my gaming are so intertwined, and I get asked this all the time, especially by non-players, not people who have never played the game, who know the very bare minimum about it. Aren't you tired of creating all this stuff, and then your players come in and they destroy it? Your heroes come in, they kill your bad guys, they kill this, that, and the other, they rewrite history, et cetera, et cetera. And I'm like, no, that's the game. That's how it's supposed to be. And as a storyteller, every single character fulfills a purpose and is a piece of me in some way. I couldn't write them if they weren't, whether they're the vile villain or the heroic hero. So I really don't have one favorite among all of them. I really like writing all of them. But there's moments when a player has a witty turn of phrase and an action that goes hand in hand. And one of my favorites probably comes back to the god Nuntil. On my world, there's 7 greater gods, and they follow the different philosophical alignments of Dungeons and Dragons. And Nuntil is the god of the chaotic neutral alignment. They are very whimsical. They are the god of bards and tricksters and jugglers and drunkards and geniuses, madmen and artists. And it's a deity whose followers are always on that borderline of genius and madness. And any character who follows in that spectrum is great fun for me to write, because they always do something unexpected on the page and then unexpected off the page, and then they come back and everybody's like pulling their hair out because of this character. So I'd say any followers of the whimsical god Nuntil.
I can see that being rewarding but challenging.
50%, that's good.
Yep. All right. Well, that was weird. But probably nothing, just a little existential worrisome. People are teleporting. On to the next question. This is one that I've really wanted to talk to people about this season. And I'd like to kind of focus it in on writing as a duo. What has been for you guys the most difficult part of writing as a pair that you've had to overcome, and how do you think that you best overcame it?
As a married couple and ones that write together, so basically in business together as well, we do have our disagreements, of course. I do remember one time arguing for a solid 30 minutes on whether orgasm was a word that would be acceptable in a fantasy writer. All the romantasy writers are spinning in their chairs right now. But anyway, we basically if we can't resolve it for the moment and things are getting heated, we just go our separate ways. And when we calm down, we revisit it. We do have totally different writing styles. So combining those writing styles together takes a lot of blending. And, I'd say, Trevor, I would never say that. So when you're writing that portion, we're not using that word. I absolutely hate semicolons, especially in dialogue, and he loves semicolons. So we argue about that a little bit as well, and I'll be like, fine, I will just make it 2 sentences and stop sticking colons and semicolons in my dialogue. So yeah, we do have some arguments around that, but for the most part, my favorite part, I won't speak for him, my favorite part is the collaboration. When we turn around to each other, because our desks are kind of close, and I say, all right, I'm thinking about this, and he says, but why don't we do this? And then I'm like, get excited about it. I'm like, yeah, that'd be a great twist to that story. And same with him, and that just gives me so much juice. It just gets me so excited to write that next 3 chapters, because we worked on it together and we came up with something so amazing. He's got books that are going to be coming out that I'm so excited for him to get out, because they're just going to be so good. And I think our fans are just going to be like, wow, where did you get that from? So, and that's very exciting to me.
Yeah, when you moved from the United States to Costa Rica, we both went from full-time jobs. I was working a first shift plant job, and she was running her own business. And there were times when we were ships in the night. There were days where we only had like 2 or 3, 4 hours together before sleep, and it really limited our time together. And so when we both get a day off, it was very much spent in reconnecting in a relationship. And then when we came here, we're together 24/7, 12 days a week. And and it's a completely different stressor on a relationship. And then we collaborated on something as intense as your imagination and your reasoning all rolled together. So it really tested us. It really required us to hone our skills in diplomacy, in discussion and discourse, in debate, in emotional regulation, in holding boundaries and speaking up for ourselves. And I really feel it made us grow much closer together emotionally and intellectually. And I think it's a challenge a lot of relationships have, especially ones that have passed. We just passed the 10-year mark, going to 11 or 12, depending on where you start counting. But yeah, I really think it's taken us up a level or two in the relationship department. So it made the collaborative all that much more important. So yeah, when one of us gets on a roll in our writing, and then the other one gets to come along for the ride and gets equally excited, there's nothing else like it.
You hear that, Sean? If we work together, you and I can just
Sonor.
I'm just waiting for the bareback fanfic of the Fitz Of Writing podcast to get created, because it's going to happen. You've
made it when they make flash fiction about you. So.
Oh yeah.
I'll know it's time for the channel to die. Unceremoniously. And Ryan, we won't talk for years again.
Can't even look him in the eyes.
Can't even look him in the beard. Okay, I think that's a really interesting answer, that the collaboration and agreements and disagreements is both the biggest hurdle, but also the best part, the most rewarding part of what you guys are doing. I like that answer quite a bit.
I have a good follow-up. I know you, April, you mentioned that you hate the semicolon. Trevor, I feel your plight. I am also a lover of the semicolon. It does kind of spur me into my big question for you guys. This is truth time. Take your time, answer it as honestly as you can, but you have to tell the truth. And
Okay.
the question is, what do you hate about modern fantasy?
You mean like urban fantasy or just modern fantasy?
Fantasy that is written today.
Oh, it's the covers. The covers piss me the off. So listen, part about being a writer,
Edit that out.
No, don't edit that out. Keep that fucking in. Listen, when you're a writer, you gotta go and you gotta look at who your contemporaries are. So you look at the top 100 people that are in your genre and your related genres, and you flip through it and you look at the covers. I'm dating myself again here, but in my day, when you looked at a fantasy cover, it told you a fucking story all on its own. It told you what you could expect. Are there spaceships? Are there dragons? Are there monsters? Are there heroes swinging swords and people in chainmail and strange and bizarre weaponry and landscapes of alien planets? There were masterpieces. Boris Vallejo, there was gold on the cover of a fantasy book. Now, it's the title. It's the title and some scroll work and some color and no fucking art. Where's the art, people? Where's the art? Where's my half-naked hero running up a hill, killing a monster, holding its head up high? Come on. John Carpenter of Mars, great. Conan the Barbarian, fantastic. Terry Pratchett, loved it. What is it now? The title, the author's name.
Filigree.
Filigree.
He's like really attacking the first edition of Bleeding the Divine, but like really boosting up the second edition.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what it is it's because people don't want it anymore. Boris Vallejo took 9 months to make a masterwork oil painting. He had a model. He spent hours and hours and hours and hours and hours making a beautiful piece of art for it to end up on the cover of a book. The original art piece sold for thousands of dollars. Now, it's text and filigree. Okay.
Tell us how you really feel, darling.
Right. I feel you've been holding that in a while.
So much. Yeah, I love this question so much.
All right, April, follow that up.
Tell you.
Well, I don't feel quite as passionately about this, but I don't like if it's not urban fantasy, them using modern verbiage in it. I don't like that. It takes me out of the story. It suspends, my disbelief is suspended, and I just can't figure out why you would use a common modern colloquialism in a fantasy text. If it's urban fantasy, that's great. That's actually fun. But if you're in a medieval time setting and you're using modern language, I don't like it.
Right. You don't want to tell us.
No, you never say, dude, you can't pass.
Right.
Don't pass, bruh. Do you pass, bruh?
Bro? Possibly. Bruh? No.
Bruh?
Yeah, Samwise Gamgee to Frodo. Bro, you're my bro.
No. Bro. You're my bro.
Art.
I have to agree with you 100%, April. I think, in fact, I'll be more passionate for you. I think it's lazy writing, especially in fantasy.
Here he goes.
I think if you can't be bothered to make something up that doesn't sound like it came within this century for your fantasy world, then you're just being lazy.
Yeah, we have a funny story if we have a moment to tell it.
Absolutely.
You got all the moments.
His first narrator was British, and when we were talking about, like, when he was doing the book and I was editing it, part of it, one of the sentences was he secreted a dagger away in his cloak. Well, when the narration happened, it was secreted the dagger away in his coat.
Which is how the Brits say it.
It's actually proper, because what movie were we watching? Was it Pendragon?
It was Pendragon.
From Stephen R. Lawhead?
It was The Artful Dodger, Victorian.
The Artful Dodger had also said secreted. So that in our terminology in America has a completely different meaning, but it was proper. We left it, but yeah, that was pretty funny. That was one of our funny moments.
to much of my amusement.
Or
Two very
meaning
different
adjacent.
Right.
It's down the road and
As long
across
as
the
I'm
ocean.
amused, then it's okay. I mean, that's the whole point of this
Yeah.
this endeavor. As long as I have fun.
All right. You get to walk away saying, "Yeah, but it was funny," huh? The,
I laughed.
And we love puns, so we put a lot of puns in our books.
And when you write a
puns.
joke, is it not the goal to make yourself laugh, Sean?
I don't know. I've never written one.
Isn't that the best laughter? It's your own.
No kids?
2 daughters.
You've never done a pun? You've never done a dad joke?
None of them were mine.
That doesn't matter. We steal them all the time. Dad's prerogative.
Oh yeah, that's what I thought. Is that there was a global network of dad jokes? I
Wait,
have them all over
you
this
just
thermos.
think we're out here making our own dad jokes?
Right.
Who made them?
Some
The worst
dad
part
at
about
some
them-
point.
The worst part about coming to Costa Rica is there's no thermostat to argue over.
Oh no,
That's true.
I don't argue over the thermostat. It's mine.
I like coming to Costa Rica because all our friends haven't heard our jokes yet, so
That was a
we're
dad
funny
joke,
again.
Sean. I don't care what you say. That was a dad joke, what you just said.
It was more of a dad quip.
Okay. Whatever the difference between a quip and a joke is. But I
Don't
guess
get me
we'll
started.
figure it out. Well, I feel like we've entertained our guests far enough. Sean has clearly entertained himself enough.
I'm happy.
So I just want to kindly remind everyone, you guys want to tell us where everyone can find you, like your socials and stuff like that, and where we can find your books?
Oh, we're really easy to find. Go to Kinthur.com. That's KINTHUR.com. And you can find all our social links because we are everywhere. We're on the Facebook, we're on the TikTok, we're on the Instagram, we're on the Twitter, we're on the Blue Sky, we're on the Substack, we're on the Lemon. If it's out there, we're on it. We're like high fructose corn syrup. We're everywhere.
They're more everywhere than we are.
Yeah, if
We're
that's
on
not-
Patreon. And if you read so much as one of our pieces, you will fall in love, and you must come to Patreon, Kinthur Chronicles, and follow us for the smallest, tiniest, itsy bitsy $2 subscription. You can get all of our short stories for free, get all of our background information behind the scenes, and every soapbox I can climb on, it'll be out there.
And if that's not simple enough for you guys, we'll put everything in the description for the audience. So I just want to remind everyone, Sean and I have changed the way we're doing Teletales. They are monthly, except for our guests. Of course, we're releasing them before their episode drops. So if you haven't seen it yet, take a look at Trevor and April's Teletale that they submitted to us. It's really a really wonderful story. I like the little twist at the end. I guess that, you guys said in the show that the Kinthur twist. I do like that. If you guys like what we're doing on this channel, you want to support us, you want to support the authors, please strike the like and subscribe. I think we should just fade to black. I'm losing it. I've lost it. It's gone.
All right,
I might
fade to
get it
black.
back. Who knows?
It's
Fade to
fading.
black.
Fade to black.